Good afternoon, everybody. 4:30, here we are. It's the Tuesday coaching session. I can't believe how fast a week goes by. It feels like 5 minutes ago we were all here last week, and it just flies by. And I think that's indicative of life. I had my grandsons for 2 days, and they never stop running everywhere. I mean, we are talking, they don't seem to know how to walk. And little people run, and they say the time goes slow. And then as we get older, we get slower, so time goes faster. I worked that one out a few years ago. So perhaps we should all run around a lot more. Just a thought for the day. But what we're going to talk about today has sort of come about because of a frantic week that's been in one of my teams, which is very exciting because there's a triple promotion that's happening today, and it will show on the system tomorrow. Very exciting. And it's all about teamwork. But actually what underpins it all and what we're going to talk about is phoning. You know, this thing here, the thing we can't do without, the thing that does everything. It's our calendar. It's our clock. It's our messaging service, our WhatsApp service. It's our emailing. It's our calculator. It's even our alarm. It's been designed to make it really appealing. And yet, the one thing that it's meant for more than anything else is to pick up the phone and call people. Now, I'm going to be very, very provocative now and say the one activity that makes the biggest difference in this business is picking up that phone and calling people. And come on, hands up. Isn't that what we all find the most challenging? Yeah, we do. It's the one thing we've got to do, and it's the one thing we don't want to do. But I'm going to hopefully dispel the myths of why phoning feels a challenge and how you can do it better. And even get to the point that you learn to love making calls. Who would love to get to that situation of loving making calls, right? Well, I'll tell you now, I actually like making calls. I prefer them to actually WhatsApp video. Do you know, has anyone ever had an impromptu WhatsApp video? I have. I wasn't even dressed. It was a customer. I mean, honestly, talk about an imposition. Thankfully, I had a bathrobe on at the time, but I wasn't expecting that. Whereas a phone call, do you know what? The phone rings and someone can decide at the other end, do they want to answer it or don't they want to answer it? They don't actually have to touch it. It's a little bit different, isn't it, when something video comes in because you physically got to do something about it. And then you're saying, I don't want to talk to you. But with a phone call, we're making calls and we have to make them. And hopefully somebody will pick up the phone and answer. So I'm going to give you all the tips and ideas that I know has worked for me. First of all, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share it to the good old dashboard of the partner portal. Hang on, folks, I've lost you. Where did I do that? Share screen. Here we go. Can we all see the countdown is on? 3 days to go. Yeah. So guys, here's the dashboard. You might want to make some notes. I'd like you to go to live training and events. So you click on there. Now yours could be somewhere else. They're all in different places. There's lots of things. There's buzzes. You can still book a seat for Sunday Power Up at this moment. Saturday's gone. But what I want to show you, there is a training course called Telephone Skills Workshop. Let's click on it and have a look. Wow. Look at that. It's there. It's an hour and a half. And it's virtual. So you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home. And if you wanted to, you could have a bit of Dutch courage in a glass beside you, couldn't you? That'd be good. If you've never booked one of these, why not? All right, so there's a first thing to do on your list of to-dos. Secondly, let's go back, watch my mouse, and let's go to the learning portal. And then click on the A to Z. And then if we click on P for phone, there's a funny old thing in our language, isn't it? Why isn't it F for phone? Yeah, P. And then there is using the phone. So if you didn't know about this, it's fabulous. So there is the wonderful senior group leader, Steve Pankhurst, and you can play a little 4-minute video and it's really good. Please ensure and look at this stuff here about consent and personal data and things like that. And then there's things called helping your team. So there is a little video here that shows, do you know what we could have? We did a lot of this in the lockdown period where we did Zoom blasts. We would do phone call blasts and there'd be lots of us. And then we would have breakout rooms where we'd all make calls, even though we weren't together and we couldn't be together and we were in different parts of the country. Folks, some people are still doing this. It's a great idea. All right, why not? Do you know there is a lot of courage in teams. When you're with other people, nothing ever seems quite so hard as being on your own, because sometimes it can be a little bit of a lonely business, this. All right, so I actually would say, well, we used to do things like we used to get together. I've got many a time where we turn up in a hotel, all get ourselves a cup of tea or a coffee, and we'd all make calls. Coffee and cake, we used to call it. Why not? If you're not doing that, why not get some groups together? You might also like, it says, a call coaching masterclass using scripts. And there's UW podcasts all about telephoning. Did you know that there was all this help available? Incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. I am always aghast at just how much the company does for us. But today you're listening to me, and I'm going to give you what is a personal slant on it all. I've grown to like the phone immensely. The phone is a means of contact with the outside world, because I think all of us tend to spend a lot more time at home because we work remotely. So it's a contact without it being in your face, literally. Okay, so how do you get about making calls? Well, I suggest that you have yourself a good little system in place. Now, mine is always, I've got an MO, modus operandus, and that is I must contact a minimum of 3 people I don't know each day. Yeah, 3 people that I don't know. I also say I must contact 3 people within my team and make possibly congratulatory calls. And then there'll be other calls, which are all sort of like administrative type calls. So if the phone feels a bit heavy and you don't want to dial, let's start with something good. I find the most wonderful calls to me is welcoming brand new people into the team. Such a lovely thing to do. Now, I do still sometimes ring them direct, but I've started to do, using WhatsApp, the voice message. Now, why is this so good? Because it's far better than typing. A written message can be misconstrued, and it can be ambiguous. I have made some real corkers in the past. I've sent messages that have been taken the wrong way. Do you know, we want to avoid all that stuff, don't we? So you press the little mic on the WhatsApp and you leave a message. And I leave something which is, I'm leaving you this message because I know how busy people are. You could be at work, you could be dealing with your children, you could be at the supermarket, you might be in an appointment with the dentist, it could be anything. And I'm saying hello and welcome to the team. I would like to be of support to you in addition to whoever it is. So I leave these messages and say, here's my number, and I give my number. Please feel free to call me back. It'd be lovely to have a chat. And by the way, I'll see you on Sunday at Power Up. Now, I always leave a little message like that because if they haven't thought about it, or if they have been thinking about it, it could be that final little prompt that just might make them book for something that they've not done. So I leave those messages for new partners. Now, they're very nice to do, and they can be fitted in and around. You know, you can have a lead in your pocket and you could be doing bits while you're doing those. And then the other type of calls is there might be helping calls. So what you're picking up here, folk, is I don't always go straight in to those prospecting calls. The ones that are a little bit challenging, perhaps a bit nerve-wracking. Yeah. Why not kind of gently ease yourself in? And that's what I find, because by the time I've been doing these other types of calls, I'm feeling ready. I'm really quite excited, actually. And then I make calls. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to share on the screen a script that many, many years ago, 2018 to be precise, I kind of got it together. And it was a little bit of something from somebody else. And I devised it. And to be honest, it stood the test of time. I know the company has very much picked it up and adapted it, but I'm going to show you mine for brand new people that want to make calls. So let me just find what I'm looking for, because I've got it all at the ready. And I shall then bring you guys in. So share, here we go. I do have the technology. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see the script. And I send this to new people and I do say, write it out. Now you might think, why would you bother to write it out when you can print it off? And I'll tell you why. You don't need to take a photograph. It will be sent to you all. All right. Why would you bother to write it out? I'll tell you why. This is something I learned from some very clever people. The act of writing is called scribing. And when we scribe, it actually imprints better in our brain. Because what we want to do is we want to actually make a script part of us, so they become our words. And what I'm about to go through with you is what I go through with brand new people when I'm helping and coaching them. I say to them, imagine right now you are a brand new person, that I am the driving instructor and I'm going to teach you how to drive. I'm going to put you straight in the driving seat, just like a driving instructor. Because theory is all that well and good, but we've actually got to do the do. Now, would it be in your interest to actually copy exactly what a driving instructor tells you? And most of them say yes, thankfully, because if they don't follow the driving instructor, they aren't going to pass that test. So this is exactly the same principle. This is years of experience picked up from many, many people far better than me. And it's a combination of everything together. And I say to them, these words are virtually perfection for success. Now, at your peril, avoid them. and do your own thing, reinvent the wheel, but you won't get the results unless you follow it this way. So I'm going to give you now all the psychology behind this, all right, because it makes sense. So first of all, hi, whoever it is. In this case, I can see at the bottom of my screen, Val. So Val's my stooge. So hi, Val. How you doing, girl? And there would be a quick bit of rapport. Now, Val and I have been friends for years. It's a long time. Could be as many as 16, I think. And it would be quite remiss of me not to have a little bit of rapport, wouldn't it? We should all do. And then the next line is important. It says, listen, it's just a quick call. It's a bit of a command, because I'm going to say this, women are really good at talking. You know what? A woman can spend all day with her friend, and then she can go home, ring the friend, and even though she's been with her all day, she can still talk. All right, and I can see some smiles. This is true. You guys, you tend to use the phone not really as a means of communication. It's more of a meet you at the rugby at so-and-so, see you down the pub. All right, but for women, this is vital. Listen, it's just a quick call. What it does is it stops the person in their tracks. They realize that it's actually about something important. And so they won't then gabble on about all the unnecessaries. Okay, that's why that line's there. In fact, say to yourself, you are now Harrison Ford, and you are in the very first film of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, when Harrison Ford first got that script, I'm quite sure he wasn't in character. I'm sure he looked at it and thought, oh, I could never say these words. They're not me. But actually, you know, if you practice something enough, you take ownership and they become your words. And so actually, this thing has to be practiced. And this is what I say to new people. So I've just started a new venture. I love the word venture, much nicer than business. Business is a little bit too formal. I'm in my training phase, and in order to complete my training, I need to book 6 practice appointments with a supporting partner. You could even say their name. I need to book. Val, I've got 6 practice appointments. I've got to do these with Steve, and he's a very busy man. It's all about practice for me to get away from the theory. I would really value your opinion, Val. Now, do you know what? The psychology is most people would think, oh, how nice. They value my opinion. In fact, I could even go one step forward, and it's here. It says, would you kindly be one of my important first 6 people to practice on? How lovely is that? Who wouldn't want to feel important? Yeah. I'm looking to do these in an over the phone or over the internet presentation. Would you do me a massive favour, Val, and let us show it to you? Would you kindly be one of my important first 6 people to practice on? Do you know what? If this is a friend, they should really say yes, shouldn't they? If they're a true friend, yeah? Because when I'm getting people to write their list, I say to them, you know, people that would do you a favour, you know, the sort of thing that you just got back at 2:30 in the morning from Gatwick and your car breaks down. You've got no AA, green flag or RAC. Who would you call? Not Ghostbusters, all right? That's the kind of people that are the people you start with, people that would do you a favour. Now, as it says here, they may say, what is it? What's it all about? Can I just say, if they don't ask you, they're not even on this planet, are they? Really? I mean, there's got to be some modicum of intelligence there. I would expect someone to say, yeah? Now, you could carry on and ignore it. You could. But the reality is, if you do, you're not going to get anywhere, because this is a niggle. They want to know what's it all about. Now, I'm going to show you this, and this is my version of dealing with the objection. An objection isn't an objection. It's just actually something that people want to know. So if you can answer what they want to know, you're going to get some good response. And I don't think saying to somebody, oh, well, you'll find out when I see you. I don't think they'll accept that. I think you've got to give them something that is meaty, enough to satisfy the curiosity. And this is it. It's all about a discount club, Val, that gives you money back on your everyday spending. How would you like money back on your everyday spending? So are you free Monday or Tuesday? Now, why do we offer people an option? Because people don't want to feel cornered. If I said to Val, are you free next week? She'd probably go, oh no, I'm ever so busy. I've got to wash the dog. I've got to do the shopping. I've got to do the gardening. And she would never find time. But if I said, Val, are you free Monday or Tuesday? She'd probably go, oh, yeah, actually, I'm free Tuesday. I say, well, I know you're busy in the day, so perhaps the evening. How about 7 or 8 o'clock? Again, an alternative. And what it does is it helps people's brains come out of the lazy mode and think, oh, I better look at my calendar, or I better look at my diary. That's what it's about. It's about causing action. You cannot ask somebody, are they free? You just can't, because the brain is naturally lazy. It needs to be directed. Now, here's a funny thing, all right? This is a cute thing. And this is only over years and years that I've learned this. So you offer somebody, are you free, say, Wednesday or Thursday next week? And they go to their calendar and they have a look and they come back and go, oh, I'm ever so sorry, Lisa. No, I'm not free Wednesday or Thursday. But I am free Tuesday or Friday, or I am free Friday or Saturday morning. Now, why do they come back with an option for you? It's psychology. It's clever, this. They believe you've been kind enough to give them an option. They can't fulfill that. Oh, the least they can do is give you an option. And don't ask me how this psychology works, but it does, and it's clever. And it really does work. So all of this, I'm going to make sure all of you can get this. All right, I'm going to send it out. I can attach it to a WhatsApp to the teams, so you've got it. Now, I've written a top tip here. If 2 people in the household make decisions, ensure you ask both people to be on the remote appointment or in the appointment face-to-face. Just going to stop the share. I'm going to unmute everybody. If you can unmute yourselves a moment. And I'd like to ask, hand up, why do you think you need to have the other bill payer there, the person there, somebody else? Why do you think you need that other person? Because it leaves them a... Go on then, Cassie.
Because if you tell one person and they say, oh no, I make the decision, and then you get to the end, they say, oh, I need to talk to my husband or my wife, they will never relate it to them the way we do. So it's always best to have both.
Spot on, Cassie. If I had a pound for every damn woman that I have spoken to, or bloke, who said, oh yeah, I make the decisions, and then you go through the whole thing and they go, oh, I better pass it by. Now, you can be a little bit cheeky, and this is a good one to use if that comes up. I say to them with a smile on my face, oh, Kathy, would Clive be really cross if he knew that you just helped reduce the household bills by £1,000 a year?
Absolutely not.
Now that's a good one, because let's be honest, anybody that's cross with somebody that's reduced their bills and they're always going to pay less, there's not much logic there, is there? Because I always say to folk, we're not out to help you spend money. We're actually going to say to you, let's give you better customer service. Let's give you simpler billing. Oh, and guess what? Transfer your spend to always pay less. How good is that? However, I'm going to say this to you. If that second person isn't there, logic doesn't even come into it. Do you know what? Kathy, you were right. What happens is they talk about a credit card, and it isn't.
Yeah.
The number of times that you have just relayed it and they still call it a credit card. Yeah. They talk about, oh, well, you get da da da. They talk about all sorts, and they talk about insurances. I've even heard somebody shout in the background to their partner, oh, they do car insurance. And I'm thinking, where did you get that one from? Never mentioned car insurance, because the reality is most people don't use 2 ears and 1 mouth in that order. Most people are not really listening. Even when you're showing them, and there is communication both orally and visually, they still are not taking everything in. Because I have been through a whole presentation, I've even answered questions, and there is a lady here called Elaine who will tell you she's done an appointment and 4 times she has repeated the same thing and it still hasn't gone into this person's brain. Isn't that true? And in fact, I'm going to be dealing with this gentleman later this week because he still hasn't really understood things. And this is what we're dealing with. Now, I am not insinuating that everybody is hard of hearing or lacking in basic skills of understanding. Being very subtle here, but there's a lot of people that it takes a long time before the penny drops, and so it is vital to get the second person there. And in fact, if you make a phone call, say, I'd really like to show you this. In fact, look guys, we're further down the line. We're not making brand new calls, but do you know what? That little script that you've just seen can be adapted. You can say, oh, I've just been to the annual conference. Oh, wow. There's been some amazing developments. I'd love to come and show you. I know I've talked about it in the past, but let me show you what's happening now. You can easily adapt. We can all adapt. All right. It's not difficult to do this. And then they say, oh, and you say, look, are you free, Val? Are you free, say, Thursday or Friday? Val says, oh, Friday. Val, can I, any chance I can see you during the day? I'd so much prefer to see you in the day. Is that all right? Yeah. And then I say, can Steve be there? And she went, oh, no, not at that time. And then Val turns around and says, it's all right. I can tell it. I can tell him. And I'll say, no, it's all right, Val. I tell you what, let's make this when I can get both your opinion, because his opinion is as important as yours. Yeah. Swing it round that way, because that's important to get that second person there.
Yeah.
Now, so you've pinned down a time. This is the consolidation. This is the bit that matters now. We do this on what we call 20K stands. This is the bit that matters. So you think, yes, I'm seeing Val at 10:30 on Friday. It's an appointment. No, it's not. Not yet. Believe me, it's not. I'll turn around and go, Val, right, 10:30 Friday. Oh, if I had £1 for everybody that's forgotten a doctor's appointment or a hair appointment. Val, is there anything at all that could get in the way of that time. Because I tell you why, I'm so busy helping many people that if that breaks down at the last minute, that's a whole hour or so that's wasted, and I'd rather not. Can you just double check that there's nothing that can get in the way? Or words to that effect. Now, guys, that consolidation is the bit that you don't realise is the most important bit. Because if you're getting a lot of cancellations, you're not consolidating. Because what it is that human brain, it's not that good. And as the age goes, I think the brain gets worse. And so we have to use these things. Look, good old-fashioned diaries, you know, because if it's not in the diary, I forget it. I'll be honest, you know, so we've got to help people use that brain. It's really important. So you must consolidate. It's one of the best things you'll ever do. That extra 2 minutes doing that is worth its weight in gold. Right. That is the basic sort of premise of phoning. It's just, you know, and then of course there's all kinds of ways you can adapt that phone call. Oh, Val, phone call, ring, 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 ring. She answers. Is that Val White?
Yes.
Wow, I'm a blonde lady you met a couple of weeks ago at the Spring Countryside Fair, and you entered a draw to win £20,000. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, have I won?
Ah, that's the first thing they ask, isn't it? Yeah, but it's a good way of getting their memory to work. Oh, isn't it fascinating how quickly they can remember that moment? Yeah. Val, do you know what? I'm so sorry I'm ringing you. The bad news is I'm afraid you and we didn't win, because you knew that if you won, I would win too. But I'm actually ringing you with something far better, because that was a one-off chance. Do you know what, Val? Do you remember we spoke and you sounded so interested about seeing your bills come down every single month? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm being a good girl. I've got a note on it. It says Val White said, please call. Can I just share with you all? I don't always write that, but it's a great thing to say. They can't remember. They honestly can't remember what they said 2 weeks ago. Never. All right. They can't even remember what they had for breakfast. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Val, you said, I must call you because you were really interested. You loved. Do you remember I showed you my bill and you said, wow. Val, what I'm doing, I'm getting very busy at the moment. We've got an annual conference coming up and I'm treating you as priority. Don't people love that? What a great thing to say. I'm treating you as priority. Val, I'm looking at next week because I know there's going to be some amazing changes, which is going to really, I mean, never mind the £200 that's on the table for you anyway. Do you remember that? And do you remember the £400 to help pay off? You could leave those higher prices and that poor service sooner. As well as that, there's more good stuff. So I'm looking at next week, Val. Any chance of you and I getting together for an hour? Because you're right up in Somerset and I'd love to come and see you, but I am that busy. We could perhaps do this over Zoom. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah.
And if you can't do Zoom, I don't mind doing it over the phone. Yeah?
No, Zoom's fine.
Okay. So I'm looking at possibly Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. Are either of those any good to you? I do remember you said on the stand that you didn't work. Is that right?
That's right. Tuesday would be better though. Wednesday I am.
Tuesday. Right. So are we looking at sort of like early 9 o'clock, or are we looking at 10 or 11 mid-morning?
Yeah, about 11 o'clock would be all right.
Okay. Anything that could possibly get in the way, Val?
No, we're both here. So
Yeah. Oh, and so Steve can be there too.
yeah.
That would be great. So there you are. Whatever it may be, you can adapt these calls to absolutely suit. But there's little key things that you have to do. You've got to help jog people's minds. You've got to make sure that they look at their diaries and stuff like that. Any questions about any of that? What do you think the biggest factor is to success?
Picking up the phone.
Picking it up, doing more of it.
Activity.
Just doing it more often. And do you know what? Have yourself an MO. Mine is 3, always 3. As time has got on and I've done it more, a bit like going to the gym, you know, the muscles hone a bit easier if you keep doing it regularly. If you stop and start, it doesn't work. You don't get a fit body if you only go once a month. You've got to keep picking the phone up daily and say to yourself, be realistic. Don't go and say, I'm going to make 20 calls. No, you won't. You won't. I say to yourself, I'm going to do anything between 1 and 5. And do you know what? If you could pick a number and do that daily, wow. If you did 3 a day, 5 days a week, that's 15 calls that you wouldn't have made if you hadn't set the tone for it. Consistency. Yeah. And actually, I'll tell you something. I read a book in the Maldives and it was The Consistency Chain. It was brilliant. And I'm actually adapting that consistency chain to my exercises. And I actually have this huge, this guilt comes over me if I don't do them daily. Because now I'm more than 21 days. In fact, I'm about something silly like 3 months now. And it's like, I have to do them. Do you know what? The same can apply to this. Do it daily and it will just get easier and it won't seem such a tardy thing to do. Right, guys, we've gone a little bit over, but I hope that was helpful. And next week, of course, will be about Power Up. All booked, yes.
Yeah.
See you there. All right. And guys, I'm going to say quickly bye now. Any questions? Don't worry. Happy, you can drop me a line on a group chat or whatever. I'm going to send my little script out. I'm going to attach it to the WhatsApp group so you've got it. All right.
Thanks.
Take care, folks. Nice to have you on board.